Hello, welcome everybody. I know, I've been away for a while. It's been a busy summer, so I apologize that it's been well over a month since we've done one of these live streams. Work's been pretty busy, and my personal life's been really busy, just with a bunch of just random one-off things. Like a couple weeks ago, my daughter did a cute little musical on a Friday afternoon, and then even next week, my sister-in-law is having a baby shower down by St. Louis, so I got to drive my wife and kids down for that. So it's just been a really busy summer. So I apologize, that we've not been able to do much. And part of the thing that goes into that is I try to prepare a little bit for these live streams because I was actually talking to another coworker, Ben Marsh. If you're watching this at all, I was telling him because he asked me how much I prepared for these things, and or if I try to prepare for these things, and I told him honestly, I said, I've tried to walk into some of these blindly, and they're just an utter train wreck. So I try to do upfront preparation now because if I don't do any preparation at all, it's kind of just falls apart. So I am prepared. So welcome back to another live stream. We are picking up with our movie ratings model. It's been a while since we've touched this, so let's do a little bit of a recap of what this project is doing, where we're at, and what we're going to be doing today. So what this model is I like to listen to this one particular podcast where there is one of the hosts does movie reviews, and so he will give a movie two different scores. He'll give it a general positive or negative, yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down kind of binary score, and then the second score is a 0 to 10 score. So it's with a one decimal place. So it could be like a 4.3 or a 6.2 or things like that. So we've been working throughout this whole project so far of. So the way I gathered the data to be able to do this project was I went through the entire podcast backlog. And then populated all the reviews for everything he's ever given into a Google Sheets. And then, in earlier live streams, we used a number of different APIs to get movie or data about movies. So this data ranged from things like revenue, runtime of the movie, Rotten Tomatoes score, things like that. And then after that, we did feature engineering. And then I believe the last live stream that we did was actually just preparing the model pipeline. So today the stream is entitled "Building a Simple UI in FastAPI for Our Movie Ratings Model," and that was partially because I made the assumption that we already did the general API. So if we were just going to do this as a general API, I thought we already did it, and apparently I only did it in blog form, which is okay because actually there's not much to the UI part, and so we're going to do the full thing. I'm going to show you how to build it as an API, just a standard API, and then build on top of that with a simple user interface. Now, one thing to note before we get into this, as far as the user interface goes, I am not a front-end developer by any means. It is on my to-do list of things I would like to learn at some point, but I've just not gotten to that point. So, honestly, if you are a front-end web developer, I would imagine that it would probably be better to develop a UI with something like React or any of the JavaScript frameworks out there. But the reason we're using what this stream is going to focus on today is, whenever I build APIs in general, I use this Python library called FastAPI. And if you're not familiar with FastAPI, many of you may be familiar with another Python framework known as Flask. They're both pretty similar. In fact, when I first started getting off in machine learning, and even in my role, maybe up until a year or two, or a year and a half ago, I was using Flask. I pivoted over to using FastAPI for a number of different reasons. Number one, it's got a nice Swagger interface for JSON documents. There's some nice async processing in there. And then, I actually didn't look to see if Flask can do this, but I did discover that in FastAPI, you can host a simple UI. Okay, so that's the background of the project. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I haven't tested out my streaming stuff in a long time, so I hope everything's working okay. And I'm testing out some new lighting setups and stuff. So I don't know. It's looking kind of weird right now, and that may be because it started raining a little bit ago. So it feels a little bit dark in here. I wonder if we can brighten things up. Did that brighten things up? No, that just kind of brightened up my face too much. Okay, sorry. A little bit distracted there. Okay, so, it looks like you can all see my screen. Oh, by the way, whether you are on LinkedIn watching or if you are on YouTube watching, I am monitoring the chats on my bottom screen here. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask them and I will get to them in a timely manner. Okay, so as a helper for us, so we're not, focusing too much on things that we've already covered before. The one thing I do want to note here is I'm actually going to refactor this. I'm going to rename this to SRC. I'm starting to redo my stuff because I used to put everything in what I called a container folder, but now I'm going to start using the actual industry standard of SRC going forward. And you'll notice that there are a couple directories in here. Like one of them is the model training directory. And this is where we built like our model training code in a previous live stream. And so we've already done the model training and everything's serialized out as pickle files and everything. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. But you'll notice that there is another directory over here on the left. And I apologize if it's a tiny bit small for you. I can't zoom in on this left navigation at all, unfortunately. But we have a new directory in here called model inference UI. So in case you're wondering what that draft.py file is that is a file that I was starting to work on and I may reference because, again, one of the things that I think is important in the coding world necessarily is, memorization of syntax is not mega important. It is helpful, but it's really more important that we understand intuition. So throughout here, you'll actually probably see me pulling up documentation to remember how to do certain things. I conceptually remember how to do them. I just don't have the syntax for everything memorized because this is not something I do on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so this little file in here is called serve. The reason I have this one here is so actually if we were to ever deploy this out onto SageMaker, which I don't think we could ever deploy onto SageMaker as a UI, at least not that I've ever seen anybody do. But anyway, if we were to just use this as a straight API, so like if we were creating a SageMaker endpoint, and I think we did create a SageMaker endpoint in a previous stream, not for this particular model, but for maybe the Titanic effort. I don't remember. By the way, if you ever miss one of these streams and you want to go back and watch it, I don't think I can't remember if LinkedIn archives them or not, but I definitely know YouTube does. So you can go over to my YouTube channel. And by the way, just a quick plug. If you ever want to get to any of my stuff, if you go to dkhundley.com, it will take you to a link tree that has just a small collection of links that will take you to my LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, etc. So anyway, back to this thing here is, if we were to deploy this out as a standard API onto SageMaker, it would be looking for this file here called serve. And the serve file is more or less just a little bash script. And this bash script is using Unicorn to actually initiate the API here. So just to cover the syntax here, so we're using Unicorn, which is our ASGI service, and we're hosting it out on port 0.0.0.0, or on address 0.0.0.0, sorry, port 8080. And then you might be wondering, what does this API thing do? So the first one here is actually looking for a Python file called api.py. So you'll notice that is not created yet. We will be creating that here in a second. And then inside of that api.py file, it will look for a FastAPI object that is named appropriately. So it's looking for, let's actually just go ahead and do it. So I'm going to create a new file here. It's going to be called api.py, as I just mentioned. I'll go ahead and add it in here. And so this is where we need to start doing some imports of things. So from FastAPI, and if you don't already have FastAPI installed, it's just an easy pip install. So if you, let me clear this out here, clear, cd, all right, ls, cd, model, inference, UI, okay. All right, okay, so you can see here in my terminal down below here that you'll notice that I already have marked this serve file as an executable file. So whenever you create this file, it does need to be marked as an executable file. If you don't know how to do that, it's as simple as running chmod +x serve. So that will turn it. Well, never mind. Yeah, that's all we need. Sorry, I'm a little bit sidetracked already. All right, so here in our api.py file, we need to do some imports. So we're going to need to do a number of different imports from the FastAPI library. So import from FastAPI, we're going to import FastAPI, which is, of course, the FastAPI object itself. we are going to import a request object, which is used for ingesting a request into any of these functions that we're going to be building. And we're going to add more to this, but I'm going to keep it basic for now, and we'll keep going. And then I think that's probably good for now. Yeah. So what I like to do is I like to break my file. Oh, did I delete this? What happened? Oh, there we go. Yeah, I accidentally deleted that. Sorry. All right. So what I like to do here is I like to break my things down into sections with commenting. I know that's not technically what's the word? I always forget the word. It's like the MLA version of coding, PEP standard, PEP, PEP 8. Yeah. So this is not exactly PEP 8, but I think it is still a good way to break down into here. So API instantiation. So I'm going to put more line break characters here, a couple dashes, just paste it out, make it out to our line. Boom. Here, let me minimize this and blow this up, make it really big so you all can see just fine. And okay, so what we need to do is we need to instantiate the FastAPI, instantiating the FastAPI object. Boom. All right, so API equals FastAPI. So that is all we're going to do there. So just as a reminder here, back into the serve file, now we do have this api.py file here, and it is looking for this object inside here, which is the one that we just instantiated. So that is pretty much it for just instantiating the API. Now I'm going to create a new section down in here just for our endpoints, because we're going to be creating a number of different endpoints. And again, even though this is entitled that we're going to be creating a UI, we're going to get to that later. We're going to focus right now on just building some standard endpoints and treating this as if it's just a standard API for now. Okay, so API endpoints. All right, so it's actually pretty easy, to create these endpoints here in Python with FastAPI. Again, if you are familiar with Flask, it's going to look very similar. There's a tiny bit of a difference in syntax, but let me just go ahead and show you. So we start off with a decorator for each of these. So we need to call out our API object. And then of course APIs can offer different what are the different terms, like the different actions, like get, post, update, delete. So let's just show you like what a basic get can do. So I'm going to call this endpoint health. So if we were actually this is called ping. So if we were to deploy this out onto AWS SageMaker, it is looking for a very precise syntax. So any endpoint that you deploy as a custom container out to AWS SageMaker must have at least two endpoints. One of them is a health endpoint, which it has to be labeled as ping, which is why I'm calling this ping here. And then the other one is a post endpoint known as invocations, which is where we do our post. So API.post. I think that's right. Hold on, let me check my syntax here. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so all right, API.post, and then it needs to be called invocations. And then the way that we actually define these things is, so this is going to look a tiny little bit different than maybe you're familiar with. We actually need, instead of doing a def predict like so, and then we would take in the request object as request as such. We actually need to pop in another little word in here, keyword called async, because again, FastAPI is a little bit different than Flask in that it does a lot of async operations, which we know we're not going to really cover that today, but I've used them before. So like the cool thing that you can do with that is, like, let's say you wanted well, never mind. But just take my word for it that there's some cool things that you can do with this. Okay, so I'm not even going to do anything with this right now. Return none. So I'm not going to do anything with that right now. So I'm going to do an async def predict health here. And again, we don't need to pass in anything since this is a get endpoint. And then I'm going to return a JSON response. Oh, I do need to instantiate a JSON response. Let me look at the syntax here really quick for that. JSON response. Okay. So I'm not going to try to cheat too much and look at my other file that I've already created. But again, this is where I was telling my coworker there, like, if I don't do some of this stuff, like I trip myself up real bad. So okay, so return JSON response, and I think it's content equals, this is just a guess, status healthy. And so this part doesn't necessarily matter. This could be whatever you want it to be, but it does need to be something. And I think it's status code equals 200. Okay, now I did this without looking. Let me just do a quick comparison over here to make sure it looks okay. Well, okay, maybe I didn't need to do the status code, but I think that's okay. So just to show you how this thing works then, so let's open up our terminal down here, and I'll do a clear out so you can see around the logo there. Can I blow this up at all? No, I unfortunately cannot blow this part up at all. But what I can do is I can open iTerm over here and then blow this up. So then make it, just trying to make this easier for y'all to read. Okay, so CD into, what is it called? Movie ratings model. Okay, movie ratings model, CD SRC, CD model inference UI clear, and then let's blow this up for y'all. So this is basically the same terminal that's over here. It's just, you know, popping it out of IntelliJ and bringing it over here. Okay, so, and then I can do, I want to do a duplicate tab, and you'll see why here in a second. So, okay, so to start up the API itself, so again, just, so cat serve, so cats, this is just showing you what's inside this file. So again, this is basically just a little bash script that started using Unicorn to start up the FastAPI. So I'm going to do bash serve. And so bash serve, that should start up the FastAPI. So you can see that Unicorn is now running over here. And then if I want to actually invoke that, so I can do a curl request, http:// localhost. So localhost is the same as 0.0.0.8080/health. I think that's right. I hope that's the correct syntax. Okay, so health is not, no, I'm sorry, it's called ping. That's my bad. Okay, so if I do ping, then you could see that I get a status of healthy here. And then over on the original window where this is working now, you could see that we do have a 200 code right here. So FastAPI is working. Oh no, I've got a bot here in YouTube that is being naughty. So you are getting banned. How do I ban you? Sorry about that. I get weird bots sometimes. Hide user on this channel. You are goodbye. No more bot for you, YouTube. All right. And then we'll just use a Control-C here to shut this down for now. Okay, so that is the very, very, very basic endpoint. So, I mean, so this is technically a working API. It's just not really doing much right now, as you can see. So let's go ahead and pad out the rest of the prediction endpoint. Well, actually, so we do need to do a couple of other things first. And so, you know, we need to, first of all, so as you recall, or if you may remember when we worked with our, like getting our data from the APIs, we need to use API keys. So you can see here in this like grayed out directory here, I do have it stored as keys. My keys stored locally here. The reason it's grayed out is because I'm using a git ignore here to ignore that repo. So that way, whenever I push it up to GitHub, then I am not exposing my API keys at all. So what I need to do here is I need to import those from the file. So I think I'm going to use import YAML, and this is where I'm going to have to reference some of this stuff from my other file here. So, you know, this is all stuff that we've covered in previous live streams, so that's why I'm kind of glazing over this pretty quickly. Okay, so I need to load the keys from the YAML file. So I'm going to load the keys here. Loading the keys from the YAML file as such. So let me just make sure that the syntax is correct there. So I actually do need to go up 2 directories, right? Yeah, 2 directories. Okay, so yeah, one up, yeah. And then I go into keys and then keys.yaml, and then I'm going to load it up. And then I actually need to extract the respective keys from the respective things here real quick. So, and then, so I'm going to do that as such. Okay, so there's that. I also need to load in the models that we've already trained. So we remember, as you can see over in this models directory over here, we did save these respective models out into their own pickle files. So again, we have 2 different models because we have 2 different scores we're predicting for. We're doing the binary yes or no, and then we're doing the 0 to 10 prediction with the regression model there. So I'm trying to remember how I save these out. This is, again, I'm just going to look to see what I did here in my other file. So it looks like I used, oh yeah, I had to use Cloud Pickle. And the reason, okay, so now it's coming back to me. So as a reminder, I am on a one of the newer MacBooks, the one with the Apple Silicon chip. And for some reason, the standard pickle file or the standard pickle library from Python doesn't like to work with this thing, and neither does joblib from scikit-learn. So, but for some reason, I found that Cloud Pickle does work, and I guess that joblib builds on top of Cloud Pickle, or maybe I'm misremembering something there. But so that's the reason I'm using Cloud Pickle specifically. Now let's look to see what else do I need to do. So I need to load in the model. So. And in fact, I'm just going to copy it over from this because I don't want to spend too much time doing this. Ignore this Heroku thing right now. This is something that we're going to cover in the next stream. But basically, just what a preview of what that is excuse me. Heroku is a platform that you can use do a number of different things with. But specifically, you can host out APIs, and you can also host out APIs for free as long as you're okay with the fact that they will go into an idle state after so many minutes, which I'm totally fine with. The whole reason I want to use Heroku here is because I'm doing this for a podcast, and the podcaster I've talked to him about this before. He knows that I'm doing this, and so does the whole community that surrounds the podcast. We have a whole Facebook group and everything. And the listeners of the podcast want to get their hands on this, and I don't want to have to pay for something to sit out there. So I'm cheap, and I'm going to use Heroku, but we're not going to cover Heroku in this particular stream. Okay, so these are the commands to load the model from the serialized pickup file. So loading the respective models from the serialized pickle files. Okay, so gotta fix my tabbing there. All right, so that looks good. All right, so we are loading up those. Now let me do a quick check here. I can't remember if that's all I needed to load in or not. Oops, sorry. Let me look at my draft.py file here. Nope, that's it. Okay, now so whenever we actually are going to go in here and create the invocations endpoint, we need to do a number of different things. So the first thing that we need to do, so like I said, we are passing in this request object. So if you imagine that whenever we, and I think I actually do have a shell script over here that will do this for us, local predict, is that correct? Okay, so you could see, let's look at this local predict file here. So this is a curl request. It's doing a post out, and it's basically saying, okay, I want to call out to this endpoint, and let's go ahead and switch this up to invocations. And so basically whenever I start this up, I want to post out to this endpoint with this data here behind this file. So if we go in here and look at the test JSON file, we only have one movie, and you could see we've been testing a lot with the matrix. So that's what we'll test this out with. Okay. So in order to ingest that, so basically whenever we do the post out here, this request object is going to have that information that contains the information that we're posting out there. So specifically, it's going to get that movie name for us. Okay, so this is, again, where I don't memorize the syntax for things, so I'm just going to copy this over from my other file where I already did this. So I'm going to copy... You know what, I'm just going to copy all these just to be honest. But I'll talk through it just because, this wasn't really the intention of the stream anyway to cover this material, so I don't really feel too bad that I'm not exactly live coding this stuff. Okay, so what this is doing here, return JSON response content equals final response. Is that right? I gotta go back and look here. Content equals final response, and then JSONable encoder needs to come from this encoders library. Okay, so sorry, I like to make sure that these are like in alphabetical order or whatever. Okay, so FastAPI encoders, yeah. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so what this is doing is, like I said, so we are using the request object to get the response body from the request. So in this case, this is obviously going to be that movie that is the Matrix. Then we are converting the binary ASCII coding to a standard string. I'm kind of glad I didn't do this live because I kind of forgot that I had to do that. I don't remember why that was. And then once I did that, then I turned this into a baby little data frame, and then I put it through this function that I created over in the helpers. In fact, I need to import my helpers from helpers import star, not ampersand star. So back into our, I got a couple too many files open here. So back in our helpers file over here, you can see that we are, you know, a lot of so these are feature engineering functions. So again, I'm not going to cover these because we covered this in previous live stream, but these were created by that. Another new bot. Hold on. Sorry, more bots being naughty on my channel. All right, so hide that user. Farewell. Okay, so where is the master function at the bottom here? Okay, so this is like the master function that you saw over in the other. So I'm really glad with how I did the documentation here. This looks good. Like, good job past me. Okay, so basically, you know, here we are passing in the name of the movie, our API keys, and our specific models, and then it's doing everything that we need in order to get the name of the prediction back. So yeah, this took a while to build, but again, this is nothing that we've not already covered, so that's why I went ahead and did it beforehand. So if this all is good, then we should be able to start this guy up again, and then we should be able to you know, call out to it. All right, so let me see that. Yeah, so I knew that would take a while, a minute to load there, a second to load. Okay, so let me go up, cd test clear. Okay, so then we're going to do a bash local predict, and then it'll take a second. Internal server error. What did I mess up here? Local variable TMDB reference before assignment. Reference before assignment. TMDB ID. Okay, it looks like I messed something up here, so let's figure that out. So TMDB ID. Okay, so equals no. Well, if length of the search results is not equal to 0, but it's not equal to 0, right? Okay, so I messed something up here. Reference before the assignment, TMDB. Did I misspell something? I mean, I've done that before. Okay, I was not expecting this. Maybe I did not actually finish this thing. Maybe I got pretty close and, you know, messed something up in here. Okay, so I'm getting the TMDB search results. Okay, this is where I said I like to be a little bit more prepared, because I don't like whenever y'all have to just watch me debug what I did wrong here. So, okay, let's try this again. Am I not loading these thingies right? Okay, let me unbound local error. So reference before the assignment, but it should not be. Let's just. I know this is bad practice, but you know, I'm just doing this to be quick. Okay, let's try this again, and then just see what if it even makes it this far. All right, internal server error. So that is makes sense. Okay, so TMDB reference before assignment final scores equals get prediction movie score. All right, TMDB movies.details. Movies.details. Where is TMDB movies even defined at? Okay, I did mess something up here. TMDB. All right, getting the details of the movie using the search results. So TMDB ID equals that. TMDB movies. Am I instantiating a TMDB? Okay, yeah, I am. That object up there. All right, so I'm instantiating all these objects up here. But I don't. It does not even appear that I even got the thing here. All right, so TMDB search results. Okay, and I want to do one more thing in here. All right, I'm going to just make sure that I'm even getting the movie name. So print. F. Movie name. Movie name. Boom. Okay, so let's try this again. All right, and then maybe I should just do a reload on this. Okay, all right, I knew it was going to fail out, but we can now look to see. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so it's still saying that same thing. And all right, so I don't even see that it's necessarily even getting the whatchamacallit out of here. All right, so result equals. Okay, so let's just comment all this stuff out for now. And then content equals test. This is terrible. This is terrible coding practices. So please forgive me here. All right, so bash serve. All right, let's try this again. All right, so that test did work this time. Okay, so it is getting the movie, but it is now that is curious that it is. Okay, so let's try this. Boom, print. Yef. All right. So. All right, test. Okay, so 0 movie name. Okay, so it's not. Okay, so something is wrong here, because it's not saving the movie name like I want it to. All right, so movie name equals. All right, so maybe. All right, so movie name equals data movie name. Okay, I don't know why that's not working like I normally get it to work. So apparently I did mess something up in here, but it doesn't. I'm not exactly sure what I did here. Okay, let me think. All right, what were we seeing here again? So movie name, the matrix. All right, movie name. All right, let me. Movie name equals movie name. Movie name. Duh. All right, let's see what this does. Movie name. Okay. All right, so let's try this again. All right, internal server error. Movie name string must be indices. Okay, so I don't even know what this thing. All right, so let's try something different. All right. Print type movie name. All right, because I want to see what the type is here, and then print just the movie name again. Okay, print. All right, let's try this again. All right, so that time it did work. So it's a class of a string, but do I necessarily want to do that? I guess I'm wondering why I even did this in the first place now, because it looks like I've messed something up here. Okay, let's try this a different way. All right, print response body. So again, this is probably not the best way to be doing these things. Oops, bash serve. That's correct. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. So that's why I was doing that, is converting that to binary string, the ASCII value, and then movie name, column movie name. All right. So how do I extract? Okay. The movie name. Well, I'm tempted to hard code this for now, just because, like, obviously something's screwy. So I think that's what I'm gonna do for just this moment, because this wasn't supposed to be the focus of the live stream anyway. So let's uncomment all these things now. This is terrible practice. So sorry. Okay, bash serve. All right, now let's try this again. All right, so it's taking a bit this time. So it's looking like it's working this time. Oh, I forgot to change this back. Okay, yes, now it appears to be working, because now it's printing out some stuff. Okay, so let me go back into my helpers, remove this, change this back to the final response, and then I got to go back and I guess figure this out later. But yeah, part of the reason I can't figure it right now is I also screwed up some of the dependencies on my computer, so my Jupyter notebooks aren't exactly working correctly right now. Clear. Boom. Oops, bash local predict. All right, there we go. Now it's working. Okay, so there is some sort of thing messed up here, but this doesn't necessarily matter because I just wanted to show you how a standard endpoint works. So this is, this is a standard API, standard modeling API. So we could go ahead and upload this thing in as a, well, I'd have to Dockerize it as a Docker container, but then I could upload this thing to Amazon, the Elastic Container Registry, ECR, and then I could make use of this as part of a SageMaker endpoint, and this thing would be good to go. Now notice it did take a couple seconds, and the reason it takes a couple seconds is because for some reason these APIs are a tiny bit slow. So it is, it's not the end of the world. It only took, I think it was like a 3-second latency. But you do want to keep in mind that if you ever were to deploy this as a production API, a 3-second latency is pretty terrible. You always want something like a millisecond latency. So you'd have to figure that out. I think it might be because the APIs that I'm using are free, and I think there are premium versions, and maybe the premium versions offer faster speed, or maybe I did something screwy. But anyway, I'm not as concerned with the latency here, but just be aware that if you were to do this as a production kind of thing, you would want to make sure that your performance is meeting your business volume metrics or whatever your needs are. Whew, I feel like I'm talking really fast. So that is really what I want to show here. Excuse me. Now let's up our game a bit. Now, so this is what you came here for. This is what we entitled the live stream here. So actually, what we're going to do next is we are going to actually turn this into something that we could also use as a user interface. So the nice thing here is, if I'm correct, is you could actually use this as a user interface and API at the same time, because I am actually not going to overwrite these API endpoints. I'm just going to add to them. And so to that point, I am actually going to add a couple new lines in here. And so I am going to put api.get, and then I'm just going to keep it the base right there. Nothing fancy there. And let me check my syntax here. I do now. We're going to import a couple more things. So basically, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be creating some basic HTML files. Now, for the purpose of this live stream, you can enhance these HTML files with CSS to make it look pretty, or JavaScript to make it have some extra functionality. But that is, again, not really my forte and not really going to be the focus of our live stream here. The intention here is just to show you how in Python you can go ahead and host these things out in this capacity. And the reason I'm doing it this way, again, is because in the next live stream, we are going to be porting this thing over to Heroku, where I can serve this thing out for free, and the listeners of this particular podcast can interact with it whenever they want, and I don't have to incur any cost. And again, Heroku does offer free and premium services, so I'm going to be using the free service. The only downside about the free service is that after like 5 minutes, it goes into an idle state. And so like if you wanted to interact with it again, like you'd have to like try to ping the endpoint and then wait for like 5 minutes for the thing to come back up, which, obviously not convenient for a production setting. But given that I'm cheap and I don't want to host, I don't want to have to pay for this thing, this is perfectly sufficient for us. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to import a couple more things from FastAPI. So from the responses, we are going to add in HTML response. So because we're going to be returning some HTML here. And then we are going to add in another thing here called FastAPI templating. So with this templating here, and by the way, if you're not, FastAPI is actually very closely coupled with another Python library called Starlet. And so actually, if you go into the templating thing here for this, what I'm about to type here, I'll just go ahead and type it. It's called the Jinja2 Templates. And so this is actually just a direct reference over to Starlet. So if you ever look at the documentation for FastAPI and you're a little bit confused, you might want to check the Starlet documentation. And so Starlet is spelled just like it sounds, Starlette. So I haven't checked to see if there's any questions. No, just more bots. Okay, so that's all good. All right, so that's what I need to import here. And now we are going to add a new directory under our subdirectory here, and I'm going to call it not file. I want to call it new directory HTML files. So under this HTML files here is where we are going to store our HTML script or our HTML files. So I'm going to create actually two of them. I'm going to call one of them home.html as so, and then I'm going to create another one here called results.html. And again, these aren't going to be fancy at all. So results.html. Boom. Okay. Okay. Well, that's fine. I don't know why IntelliJ did it for that one and not this other one. Okay, so we can keep this as such. So we're going to call this our movie ratings model UI, and then the same thing over here. So again, I'm not exactly perfect with HTML. I know enough to make myself dangerous. Okay, so so basically when we all right, so coming back to here, so we're going to host, as you saw here, we're going to host these things out on the main, the base URL, if you will, here. So let me check my syntax here on my other screen. So response class equals, not calls, response class equals HTML response. Okay, I'm getting my head ahead of myself a tiny bit here, but so in here, we're actually going to make a reference to where we can load these templates from. So, so we're going to instantiating an object to hold the HTML files. So basically, this object here is going to be the thing that we refer to whenever we want to get to our template. So this is how we do it. So we're going to call this HTML templates as such. You know, you can call this variable whatever you want it to be. And this is where we're going to use the Jinja2 templates that we imported here. And the only thing that we need to do here, and this is pretty simple, at least for this piece, is we just need to give it our directory name. So our directory name is the one that we just named here, which we are calling HTML files. And so that's how we do that there. And then when we come down here, so again, so, you know, the way this is, so this is actually kind of interesting how this works. And I actually did find this from another Google thing that I found actually just this morning. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to use the get endpoint on here to actually load up the form. And then when we submit the form, we're actually going to do a post to the exact same base here. It's just going to load up a different HTML file here. So again, we have the home and then the results. So what we're going to do here is def or async def homepage, and then we're going to pass in the request object again because it doesn't make use of the request object. And I'll talk here a little bit more about how, you know, this is new to me. So what we're doing here is fresh as of this morning. I've been awake since 12:30 a.m. today. Part of that was because I watched the new Stranger Things Volume 2, which it was pretty good. No spoilers. But so I've seen it already. and then after that, I worked on some of this stuff here, and I also did actual work for my job, which is why I'm already off because, you know, I got up so early. But yeah, so what I was going to say is, you know, there's actually a bit of syntax in here that I'm actually not 100% sure what it's doing, but I have a pretty good guess. So now what we're going to do here is we are just going to return our do a return here, and then we are going to use our, what do we call that? The HTML files, HTML templates as such dot template response. And then we are going to call our home.html file. And then we need to pass in what they refer to as context here. So we do need to pass in this request object. I'm sorry about that. And this is where I was saying where I don't exactly understand what this is necessarily referring to. And that's okay. I think I understand this enough, but you'll see where this comes important here in a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So now we go back into our HTML file here, and this is where we actually do need to add a little bit more HTML in like a forms like syntax. So let me see if I can find what I did here. So I'm looking on my other screen because, again, I'm not an HTML coder at all, so I would have to go back and look here. So within the body here, we are going to create a form tag. So with a method of post equals post, post, and then we are going to provide some input. So input type equals string, type equals, well, it doesn't matter? I don't know if it matters or not. Sorry, I'm just looking at what I did this morning based off of what this other individual did. So type equals, what are the different values? So he just had a number value. Is there like a string? Oh, how about text? Text. Okay. And then we are going to do an input of type equals but submit here. And yeah, so that should be all of this in text that we need for at least the home page. Now I'm gonna put our results page over here just to juxtapose these things side by side. Let's shrink down this left column here. Let me check to see if there's any questions in the chat. Any questions in the chat? Y'all doing okay today? Hope y'all are doing okay. All right, so over here we are actually going to make a little paragraph tag. So again, we're just keeping things super basic here, and so I'm just going to do a p tag, and then I'm going to put what our result is going to be, and then result, and then in double brackets here I'm going to put the word result here. And so you might be wondering what this is. I'll show you here in a second. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we need to go out and add that other endpoint in here too. So let me go ahead and close this out now. So I'm pretty good there. So again, like I said, when we have this form here, we're doing an API.get just to load up the form. And then when we do a post on the same thing here, and we're going to do another response class equals HTML post, or I'm sorry, HTML response. And then we're going to do async def results page. All right, now here is where things will get a little bit interesting, and I think I need to go and add something in here as well. Okay. All right, so I need to go and add a form object here for FastAPI. So this lets FastAPI know that we're going to be passing in some form context here, and I need to add this in as what do we call this? Hold on. Num int equals. Well, that's not what I necessarily wanted, did I? All right. Movie name. Am I doing this right? Is this sorry? str equals form. So again, I've not really done this. So I think that's the right context there, or the right syntax. And so then again, we're just going to do a return here, very similar to our templates, or in fact, I'm just going to copy this, paste this now. So this is going to be very similar, except this time, instead of returning the home.html, we're going to return the results.html. And then, and then we also need to add in here, what do we call this? I can't remember what we call this now. So in the results.html, we call it just result. Okay. And the reason we're calling it as such, here, result equals result. So this is where things are going to get a little bit interesting. What we're basically doing is whenever well, actually, let's go ahead and test this all out for now. Now, obviously, it's not going to be doing much, but let's go ahead and try it out. All right, so bash serve. What did I do wrong here? So pip install Python multipart. I've not seen that before. Okay, hopefully this works. Okay. Okay, appears to be working. So let's go ahead into my browser over here and go to localhost 8080. All right, so you can see up here in the top corner, now we do have a very basic form here, and I should be able to type in a name, the matrix. matrix, and then like let's do a submit here. So obviously, nothing's really working right here, and that's fine, because we haven't built out the rest of this part yet. But let's just keep it kind of simple for now, and hopefully this will work just fine. So because again, we're going to be passing in the result here. So back to here, let me drag this off on the right. So you can see here with our this is our Python script on the left here. So we're passing in result, and I mentioned before that we were passing in, or we bracketed these this result variable over here. And basically what it's doing is saying, okay, whatever we define here as result, we're going to pass out, and we are going to show back to the user as this variable. So just to keep it very super simple right now, I'm just going to call this result. This is my result. And so whenever we go back, and let's reload this thing, and then bash serve. All right, now let's go back and then do the localhost 8080 again. All right, so let's just type in, well, it could be whatever you want it. And then, all right, so log message required, value type, value error missing, field required, log body movie name. Okay, so I did something wrong here. And again, this is where, because this guy actually did an integer here. So I'm just trying to, because I'm basically trying to pattern myself of what this other individual did. And I can't remember exactly what that is. So num int equals form. Well, I wonder if I could just do movie name form. All right, let's try this instead. All right, bash serve, FastAPI, invalid args for the response field, and check that ellipses. Okay, so here, let's Google this for us. So FastAPI, what is it? We are trying to look up how to do form, string form. All right. So query, form data, oops, wanted to do this instead. All right, so form, all right, so str equals form. So maybe I don't need those dots. All right, so str equals form. I was wondering what those dots were for. So this, again, apologies again that, this is kind of goofy here. And then what did, hold on here. All right. Oh, I needed to put a name on this thing over here. So I forgot to put a name. All right. So we did a type text, and then name equals movie name. That would be why. Okay. There we go. All right. Now let's try this thing again. All right. So bash serve required one positional argument, ... All right. So default. Oh, I forgot to change this. Sorry. All right, so let me go back in here. Str equals, I think that should be correct now. So let me try this again. Okay, what did I do wrong this time? What did I do wrong this time? All right, so it's colon str equals form. So I wonder if I do need the 3 dots in there. I'm a little bit confused on what the 3 dots are, but I'll look that up later. All right, so does it want to start? Okay, so now it wants to start up. So now let's go to localhost 8080. No, I don't want to resend that. Let's start this up again. So 8080. Again, let's blow this up. Type in any text here. Submit. Result. This is my result. Okay, so you can see that it did work, but it's just kind of static right now, just because it's returning this variable right here. So let's say we wanted to change this to whatever movie name is. So movie name. Okay, so. All right, so I can stop that. So now we can bash serve again. All right, so now this thing is hosting out again. All right, so now let's try this. And then I should be able to type in, well, I kind of regret doing what I just did there. Let's turn this into an F string instead. And we'll go ahead and close this part out. All right, so any questions? You gotta check it. More bots, golly, this bot, it is, it's not backing down today. All right, so, okay, what was I doing here? Sorry, sidetracked. All right, so F, this is the name of my movie. Of the movie, not my movie. and then we're going to pass in the movie name. Movie name. Okay, extra quote. Shut it down. Restart. And again, so because we were restarting this, I should be able to just run this again as so, and still use this as a standard API while it is simultaneously hosting out this other thing. Okay, so now if I go and reload this, now what? Oh, didn't mean to do that. Sorry. So whatever I type here, after I submit, we should see another text just pop up on the screen that says this is the name of my movie, and then it should display whatever we typed here. So let me just pick something out at random. What is the last movie I watched? I don't remember the last movie I watched. Actually, well, I take it back. I actually do remember the last movie I watched, but it's kind of embarrassing to say, so I'm not gonna say what it is. I'll just say that the last movie I watched in theaters, and that was Doctor Strange. Which, so by the way, Doctor Strange, I did not feel like it was that good, but so I just typed it in, and you could see here that it worked. Okay, so this is all working, and so now you could see how we could then really enhance this thing here. So what we're gonna do here is basically just copy out all these same things here, and then so I'm just gonna take the same bit of code here, and then I am going to copy it as such here. Now this is curious. I've never actually done this before, so I don't know how well this is going to work. And then instead of having the result come from here, so we are passing in movie name. I hope this works. All right, so instead of I'm actually going to call this final response. I know this is going to look weird. It's going to look weird, but I'm just trying to prove out a point here. And because again, we're not trying to make this look pretty. Like I will go and try to make it look pretty after the fact, but right now I'm just trying to get this thing working. Extra space there. Okay, so again, just to recap what we've done here so far. So we've created 4 endpoints. So these first 2 endpoints that we covered, this one down here is just a standard health endpoint, and so the health endpoint is generally required for things like AWS SageMaker that requires such. So this endpoint here, this post invocations endpoint, is how you would use a standard API here. So, and again, the reason we use invocations here is if you were to use this on AWS SageMaker with their endpoint configuration functionality as a Docker container, you need to have it in this precise syntax. And then again up here, this is where at the base URL here, we are first returning the form, and then after we type in the movie, then we are going to see if we can actually get these into get predictions actually printed out in an appropriate capacity. So let's shut this down. I actually don't know that this is going to work, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't necessarily. So let's try this out. Fingers crossed, folks. All right, so let's use our classic, the matrix, just because, that's the one that we've been used to working with. So I just click the submit button. Hey, look at that. And that is exactly what we wanted to see. Now, obviously, it's not pretty, but, we just demonstrated that this is how you would do it. So now from here, it's just really making things look pretty because, the bulk of the meat and potatoes of this thing that we want to do is done. We wanted to provide a form that any, user could interact with in a normal capacity. So type in a movie and, see what comes up. And then we return the results back to them. So this is exactly what we wanted to do. And I'm out of curiosity, let's try this again. And I'm going to put in a fake movie this time. Let's call it, obviously that's not going to work just because I want to see what happens. Internal server error. So I probably need to address this. So I kind of figured that was going to happen. So yeah, okay. Yeah, I need to apparently address the functions better if what happens if I type in a junk movie name. Whew. And that was exactly 1 hour. And I'm kind of tired. Like I said, I've been up for a long time. So I think I'm going to call it a stream here. Now, for your benefit, I'm going to go ahead and upload all this to my personal GitHub. So I'm going to call this adding stuff for starter model inference UI. So again, if you would like to follow along with my code, all this stuff you can find up in my personal GitHub. And so my GitHub is github.com/dkhundley. And if you can't remember that, dkhunley.com, this is what I was talking about earlier. It'll take you to this little link tree here. And so if you ever want to get to any of my stuff, it's pretty easy to do here. And so we're calling it the movie ratings model. And again, so what we just covered here is under the source directory, under the model inference UI, and then under, so we created this API.py file, and then we created some basic HTML files. So again, on my own personal time, not as part of a live stream, I will enhance this to make this look prettier with CSS, with a little bit of graphic design, and make this look nice. And then, and then in the next live stream, hopefully we will port this thing out to Heroku, and then we'll call this project done. I'm sure, obviously, we could do some more fun stuff with this project if we wanted to. We could deploy it out to Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, whatever. But I'm ready to move on to a new project. I think we've done like 6 or 7 live streams for just this single project. So, it's come a long way. I'm really happy with how it's come along, even though it's, kind of a crappy model just because. So by the way, the context of the podcast that I listen to, it is a comedy podcast. So the reviewer of these movies doesn't exactly try to give great, like accurate scores. And so even though the binary classification of the yes or no is actually, I think it has like an 80% accuracy, so not bad. The regression algorithm is awful. Like the coefficient of determination, aka the R-squared score, is a negative value. And if you all know what that means, then you just know like there's no signal in the data when it comes to that. So, and if you knew who this particular podcaster was, like you'd understand like, okay, yeah, you really can't predict his movie scores. So, we covered a lot of ground today. And again, I apologize that I've been away for a while. Transparently, I will be gone again next week just because, like I said, we'll be in that baby shower. But hopefully we'll be back again in 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks we'll cover that Heroku thing. Just to give a quick preview, I have started early parts of another project that we're going to be doing with natural language processing and sentiment analysis of a specific set of Twitter tweets. So actually, while I'm here, if you want to do that, the one thing I will encourage you, let me go ahead and share my screen again. Where's my screen thing? Okay, so the one thing I will say is we are going to be making use of the Twitter API, which is not a free API, but you can apply for it. And so transparently, I did this application back in 2019 because I actually had to do this as part of one of my Udacity nano degrees. So if you do want to follow along, the only thing I would encourage is that you come here into developer.twitter.com, and then you start to sign up and get yourself access to this Twitter API now. Because I think, if I recall correctly, in 2019, it took them like 2 or 3 days to give me access. And I think you do have to provide like a business case. The only thing I would say in your business case is just be honest and say, I want to do some learning stuff with this. And I think they should give you access. That's how they gave me access. So yeah, I'm glad I remember that now. So yeah, if you do want to follow along for the next one, just know that we will be using the Twitter API. But again, that probably won't be for at least, so if we do Heroku in 2 weeks, then we're looking at least 3 weeks before we start the Twitter API. So that's it. Let's wrap it up there for today. Thank you all for joining, and I hope you all have a great and safe 4th of July weekend, and we will see you in the next live stream. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. All right. Up here in the top corner.